This presentation is about the leader of the Bauhaus, Walter Gropius. Walter Gropius was born in Berlin in 1883. He was a German architect and educator. He was a great influence in the development of modern architecture. Gropius was the director of the Bauhaus, the famous school of design in Germany from 1919 to 1928. Under his direction, the Bauhaus became the leading school of modern design, and its methods revolutionized the teaching of architecture and related arts around the world. In his opening manifesto for the Bauhaus in 1919, Gropius declared, "Let us therefore create a new guild of craftsmen without the class distinctions that raise an arrogant barrier between craftsmen and artists. Let us desire, conceive, and create the new building of the future together. It will combine architecture, sculpture, and painting in a single form, and will one day rise towards the heavens from the hands of a million workers as the crystalline symbol of a new and coming faith." Later, he headed the architectural design section at Harvard University's Graduate School of Design from 1938 to 1952. He died in Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States in 1969. In his early years, Gropius's father and uncle were both architects. Beginning in 1903, he studied architecture in Berlin and Munich. He joined the architectural firm of Peter Brandens in 1908. Other modernists working in that office included Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Le Corbusier. All of his life, Gropius suffered from a physical ailment that restricted his ability to hold a pencil effectively. Because of this, many of his works were collaborations. In 1910, Gropius partnered with Adolf Meyer to set up an architectural practice in Berlin. They contributed to the design of one of the most notable early modernist buildings, designing the steel and glass facade of the Fergus Work shoe form factory in 1911 in Alfred Lane, Lower Saxony, a building that still stands to this day after renovations in the 1980s. Gropius had several influences in his life. In 1915, Gropius married Alma Mahler, widow of the composer Gustav Mahler, following her 2-year affair with Oskar Kokoschka. The two had a daughter together who died at the age of 18 from polio. Walter was infatuated with Alma Mahler, but the couple divorced in 1920 after Alma had a love child with Franz Werfel. Alma had 3 different husbands and many lovers. She could have been Gropius's downfall, but Walter was able to learn from his experiences. He learned how to be effective while still being under conflicting and emotional stresses. In 1923, Gropius married Isa Frank, who remained his wife until his death. They had an adopted daughter, Bette Gropius. With the outbreak of the First World War in 1914, Gropius served as a sergeant major and was seriously injured while stationed on the Western Front. After recovering, he returned and was soon promoted to lieutenant after proving to be an effective leader. Walter was the type of person who could leap into treacherous territory with great big steps and not fret. He had a determination and will about him. With the war's end in 1918, Gropius was able to resume his design career. The American architect Frank Lloyd Wright was a great influence for Gropius also. Wright's work was very organic in style. He designed numerous iconic buildings. Frank himself was influenced by the father of skyscrapers, Louis Sullivan. Sullivan rejected ornate European styles in favor of a cleaner aesthetic. Wright followed the saying, "Form follows function." What the two succeeded in accomplishing was a uniquely American style of architecture. Wright designed a series of residences and public buildings. These were single-story homes with low, pitched roofs and long rows of casement windows, employing only locally available materials and wood that was always unstained and unpainted, emphasizing its natural beauty. This type of architecture became known as Prairie School architecture. Wright's most celebrated Prairie School buildings included the Roby House in Chicago and the Unity Temple in Oak Park. In 1919, Gropius was presented with the opportunity to reorganize the Grand Ducal Saxon School of Arts and Crafts in Weimar and merge it with the Weimar Academy of Fine Arts. The result was the new Bauhaus School of Design, which was an attempt to unify all forms of art and design ranging from painting and craftswork to industrial and architectural design. Walter wanted to improve the world around him. In many ways, he wanted to live up to the expectations of Alma. She craved perfection and kept him wrapped around her finger for a long time. Walter envisioned an institution with guidelines that emphasized the collaboration of artists and craftsmen that blurred the distinctions between the two, a sort of mashup of expertise and teamwork. He also wanted to bridge the gap between industry and artistic creativity and technology and the dependence on handwork. He imagined a time where there was a sense of clarity throughout everyday objects and functionality was concise. There was no need for all sorts of ornamentation. Plain efficiency and human understanding should be sufficient. Gropius advocated a more futuristic approach to art, architecture, and design, one more closely, in his words, adapted to the world of machines, radios, and fast cars. In Weimar, Gropius was able to bring together a noted faculty that included talents who were or would later be known in their own right. Lionel Feininger, Paul Klee, Joseph Albers, Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, and Vasily Kandinsky. The Bauhaus and its faculty came under conservative criticism while in Weimar. Gropius's ideas challenged convention. In so many ways, the Bauhaus was doing away with tradition. Because of the political resistance, the school soon lost its funding from the government. In March 1925, the Bauhaus closed its doors in Weimar and moved to Dessau. In Dessau, the Bauhaus also began to place more emphasis on architecture, including the school's own modern Bauhaus building there, designed by Gropius and completed in 1926. In Dessau, the Bauhaus also began to place more emphasis on architecture, including the school's own modern building there, designed by Gropius and completed in 1926. In Dessau, the Bauhaus also began to place more emphasis on architecture, including the school's own modern Bauhaus building there, designed by Gropius and completed in 1926. Gropius ran the Dessau Bauhaus until 1928, when he hired the Swiss architect Heinz Mayer to become the school's new director. The Nazi regime was rising in political power. Tensions were high. Mayer himself was a communist. Lots of conflicting views between older faculty and himself led to Mayer being fired. Since Gropius was physically unable to sketch his own ideas, he depended on a team to put his ideas on paper. This changed Gropius's way of thinking into more of an integrated and collaborative fashion. It was because of this hindrance that he would design the Bauhaus curriculum the way that he did. Gropius managed to establish a new pedagogical model. The Bauhaus curriculum consisted of preliminary courses and practical training and workshops. The workshops were to be laboratories for developing models suitable for mass production, implements typical of the present day. The curriculum is laid out in expanding rings, on the outside, a foundation year, and at the core, mastery. These are linked through intermediate bands of theoretical and material studies. The Bauhaus sought to combine the theoretical curriculum of an art academy with the practical curriculum of an arts and crafts school in its attempt to unify all training in art and design. The first involved the crafts, which included workshop instruction in such areas as sculpture, carpentry, metal, pottery, stained glass, wall painting, and weaving. The second involved instruction in form problems, which involved observation, study of nature, and analysis of materials. The most influential course was known as the Foundation course. This preliminary course provided students with a common background of experience. It was designed to give students an understanding of nature's materials and to acquaint him or her with the basic materials and also give the faculty a better idea of the student's potential for remaining in the program. In liberal art schools today, the core or foundation classes are the most important courses. This idea was started from the Bauhaus way of thinking. By the end of World War II, the Bauhaus style of architecture had become known as the international style, and the industrial design curriculum of most professional art schools was influenced by Bauhaus courses. The exploratory activities of the Bauhaus Foundation course was made available in such textbooks as Vision in Motion by Mihaly Nagy, 1947, and Language of Vision by George Kepps, 1944. The Life Drawing course, which had been the traditional core of every professional art school curriculum, was now supplanted by the course in Basic Design, Design Fundamentals, or what some schools call the Foundation Year of Study. From the Bauhaus perspective, the elements of design were discoveries one made through the investigation of materials. With this as a foundation, one could create either functional or expressive forms. When the Nazi Party won a majority in the Dessau City Council in 1931, the design school had no future there. Hitler came to power in 1933, and the Bauhaus was doomed in Germany. It didn't matter that Gropius was a patriotic war veteran. In April 1933, the Bauhaus in Berlin was forced to close. The Nazis even loaded Bauhaus faculty and students into trucks and carted them off to jail, or worse. Before the closing of the Bauhaus in Berlin, many of the key people involved with the Bauhaus left Germany for Switzerland, England, and the United States. Gropius and others eventually settled in the U.S. and carried on the ideas of the Bauhaus at various institutions. Gropius and Marcel Breuer ended up teaching at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. Mies van der Rohe and Laszlo Mihaly Nagy landed in Chicago, where Mihaly Nagy founded the new Bauhaus School, later the Institute of Design at the Illinois Institute of Technology. In the United States, Walter found a greater acceptance of his ideas. American art education was influenced by this great exodus of German immigrants. While at Harvard, Gropius introduced Bauhaus concepts and design principles such as teamwork, standardization, and prefabrication. Gropius founded the Architects Collaborative with several partners in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1945. The Architects Collaborative became one of the world's top architectural firms before it went out of business in 1995. Some of Walter's major works include the Fagus Work Factory in Alfred an der Lane, Lower Saxony, the Total Theater Project for Berlin, the housing estates and prefabricated dwellings. These buildings were also informative in purpose. They were concrete demonstrations, manifestos of his theories and beliefs. Gropius' own house, the Gropius House in Lincoln, Massachusetts, built in 1938 by the practice, attracted numerous commissions for private houses and was influential in bringing international modernism to the United States. Other commissions were the Harvard Graduate Center, 1946, the U.S. Embassy in Athens, and the University of Baghdad. One of Gropius's later design, in collaboration with Pietro Buleschi, was the Pan Am Building, now the Metropolitan Life Building in New York City. The impact of the Bauhaus can still be seen around the world today. When we see sleek, modern, and practical designs, we can almost always trace their origins back to the Bauhaus style. Walter's intentions for the new school was an integration between the artist and the craftsman. He wanted to bridge the gap between art and industry. In his eyes, this was to be an ultimate modernist project. The Bauhaus' simplistic form and shimmering glass surfaces can be seen as a new international architectural style. The Bauhaus' simplistic forms and shimmering glass surfaces can be seen as a new international architectural style. The world of art and architecture continues to be influenced by the German design school founded by Walter Gropius 96 years ago.